Hello and welcome to Creator Weekly for the week ending July 6th, 2025. I'm Peggy Kay, and this week there's updates for YouTube, Substack, Threads, AdSense, Google Search, and more. Thank you for joining me this morning. If you're in the US, I hope you're having a wonderful holiday weekend. So I want to get started with an update that you guys can see right now. YouTube is rolling out top fan leaderboards to all channels. These are available in the live stream chat. When you're in the live stream, you should see a top fans button. You can click that to see the leaderboard. One way you can rank up in the leaderboard is leaving more chat comments. And you should see a badge next to people's names in the live chat if they're number 1, number 2, or number 3. So you can rank up in the leaderboard either by live chatting or by paying for super chats, super stickers, or gifts in vertical live streams. And you'll see a little crown next to the top 3 fans. The leaderboard will go up and down as the live chat progresses. And the badges you get are only available in this live stream. You don't get to keep them forever. If you do not want to participate, you can turn it off in your YouTube settings. On desktop, that's under the main settings, and then go to the privacy tab, and there's a live chat section. You can also opt out of several other things there. On mobile, you go into the U button at the bottom right corner, click the settings gear, and there's a live chat section. There isn't any way for live streamers to turn this off, as far as I can tell. So it's there. Enjoy. So I'm just going to take one moment so I can actually see what it looks like to me. And I appreciate you guys posting in the chat. You guys are all tied at the moment, so I don't know how it decides. There is some limit to the number of points you can get for various different actions, so it's not infinite points. It should be interesting. It's to encourage activity and engagement from people in live stream chats, so that's a good thing. So the other big update from YouTube I wanted to mention is that in analytics in YouTube Studio, you can now get a breakdown of your channel audience by watch behavior. By watch behavior, it means it's breaking it down by how much viewers watch. So this is a little bit more detailed than new versus returning, which is pretty basic. Now this has new viewers, casual viewers, people who watch occasionally over 1 to 5 months over the past year. And then there are regular viewers consistently watching for 6 months or more over the past year or so. This is rolling out to everyone over the next few weeks. And YouTube made a point of saying that some channels may see a lower percentage of regular viewers than they might expect because it's a high bar to reach. So if you're used to looking at new versus returning, you may assume that a lot of those returning viewers are regular viewers, but maybe they're not. So this is worth checking out, and I believe you can still see the new versus returning as a different metric. This is on the audience tab in YouTube Analytics, which you can access in YouTube Studio. Also new to YouTube Studio is a new filter for comments that lets you see the most relevant. So the idea is you go into YouTube Studio, you go to the community tab. That's where you normally can reply to comments, moderate comments, that sort of thing. And then if you select most relevant, it sorts the comments into what YouTube thinks are the most relevant ones, so you can be sure not to miss those. If you get a lot of comments, I think this could be useful if the filters work well. And I don't actually have this on my channel yet, so I haven't been able to test it, but you should definitely check it out if you have a channel with comments on it. And just, I like to note how long it takes for some of these features to come out. It seems like YouTube started really testing this in particular last November. So it may seem a lot of times that these features come out quickly, but a lot of times they've been testing them for many months, sometimes a year, before they actually roll out to everyone. So Andrew says, those that love to see themselves talk are going to love the new Top Fans leaderboard. That is probably true. And one thing that is not clear is how this could negatively affect behavior. Really, you don't want people just posting a bunch of random stuff in the chat. And it may kind of encourage that because there's always going to be some person who's only in it for the points, who really wants to rank up on the leaderboard. They don't really care about the discussion, and that could feel spammy. So we'll see how it goes. Let me see. It is kind of interesting as someone live streaming. It's like, well, should I be checking? Should I be checking the leaderboards? And I'm going to check on my phone because that is theoretically easier to do. So I view my channel. I see that I'm live. Oh, I'm looking down. That isn't good. So that is interesting. And I took a screenshot. I don't know why I'm doing this. So I think that one thing I'm also kind of curious about is whether there'll be stats on this somewhere in YouTube analytics. Can you see over the long term who the top fans are? I think interesting. Jolyn says, Michael spoke about this past week. It'll help me with our HHICC site. I don't publish publicly, but it will help me figure out what's watched most. Yeah, I think there's some interesting things that you can do with that. You can see who's engaged. And are you referring to the new versus regular? I'm getting confused with the updates. That actually, I think, is an important metric because having a core group of viewers who watch everything, that's awesome, but it's hard. So it'll be interesting to see if there's certain content that attracts the regular viewers more than others. All right. So just a couple more YouTube updates. So YouTube announced that the YouTube Partner Program policies will be updated so that the guidelines better identify mass-produced and repetitious content to better reflect what inauthentic content looks like now. So one of the things that was interesting about this update, I mean, it doesn't sound that exciting, right? But there are certain news websites that took this announcement and ran with it and said, this is a major update, a policy change. They're going to get rid of, well, basically all the different kinds of monetized videos that annoy people, like reaction videos, that kind of thing. And actually, Team YouTube on X had to step in and say, no, it's not a major update. This is a minor update. It's not a policy change. Monetizing this repetitious content, it's not been allowed for years. What they're doing is making the policy clearer, and it may be that they are able to find more channels violating this policy. That remains to be seen. So current examples of what's not allowed: content that exclusively features readings of other materials you didn't originally create. So if you just are reading a website or news feed, that shouldn't be monetized. What I do, I read things from websites, but I feel like I add my own original commentary to that. Songs modified to change the pitch and speed. That's usually to try to avoid being detected as copyright infringing. Mindless content with no educational value, commentary, or narratives. Mass-produced content using the same template across multiple videos, image slideshows, or scrolling text with minimal or no narrative commentary or educational video value. You've probably all seen this kind of content. It's really spammy looking, and hopefully this change will help YouTube crack down more on it. So I'm going to shift away from YouTube over to Substack. Substack is also really pushing live streaming. I think it's because it's engaging, it's kind of sticky, it's kind of weird to think of it in the context of a newsletter site, but Substack really isn't a newsletter site anymore. So two things that they are changing. First, they're making it easier to invite a guest by email or text message. The guest does not have to have a Substack account. So that's good if you want to have like a little show in Substack. And now Substack will automatically create clips after the live stream is over, clips that it thinks your audience will be interested in. You can turn this off if you don't want it, but it sounds like it's probably a pretty good way to promote your live stream. And the clips are automatically published to Notes. Notes is kind of like the posts feed, kind of Twitter-like for Substack. And you can see stats, which are your top clips. And if you have a YouTube channel that is connected to your Substack publication, the top 2 clips will be automatically published on YouTube as shorts. So again, those, and it's published in such a way it refers back to your Substack publication. So hopefully people who see it on YouTube really like it. Will find you on Substack also. So this could be a way to have a bigger audience. I'm just interested in how this is all being automated now, and how useful this is depends in part on how good their system is in generating these automatic clips. And you'll notice that this is really focused on mobile. You can see that if you're interviewing someone, it's kind of stacked up and down. Mobile is where it is. So just a couple more live streaming updates. The first is on StreamYard. There's a new People tab that lets you manage guests for your live streams. You can go on the People tab. You can see who's on stage, who's backstage. You can adjust their settings, like the audio levels and so forth. Seems really useful if you have guests. And on ReStream, ReStream is what I'm using. On ReStream, you can now record without live broadcasting. This is for paid accounts only. You can have up to 9 guests, and the length of time you can record depends on which plan you have. So if you have the standard plan, you can record up to 6 hours, a professional plan up to 10 hours, and a business plan up to 20 hours. That's the length of the recording. You can make as many recordings as you want. This is a really useful feature if you want to record interviews, for example, without having to live stream it as well. And then over on Facebook, they're supposedly offering people the option to have reels scanned for copyright issues before it's fully published. So the idea is you upload and it scans its system, and if it finds some sort of match, it will tell you, and you're supposed to have an hour to fix this. I checked. I don't see this in my Facebook account, and I've only actually seen this from this person who reported it in their account. It may be experimental. It may only be available to creators who are monetizing their content. But it's kind of interesting that it lets you do that and then fix it. It's similar. YouTube does checks on uploaded videos to see if there's any copyright claims. And again, you can do that before your video is pushed to the public. Better than making it public and then having it taken down, for sure. So switching over to social media. On Threads, they have launched direct messaging, DMs. Now, a lot of people said this was an important feature for them that was missing. A lot of people say they don't want this at all. It's divisive. So right now, it is mobile only, one-to-one conversations only. There's no group conversations let, and only people you follow on Threads can message you. So that's a bit of control you have there, but you can't turn DMs off entirely. And there's lots of people who don't want it at all. You can imagine situations where you're following accounts and you don't want that account to necessarily be able to contact you privately. And, Thread says, oh, well, if you don't want someone to message you, just unfollow them, which doesn't seem to be a good user experience. But more controls are supposed to be coming in the future. And I am hoping this means that more accounts like Team YouTube, which is YouTube support, it's only on X right now. I'm hoping that means that they will come over to Threads as well. I always feel bad sending people to X for assistance. That doesn't seem right. So I'm going to switch over to web publishing. There's a couple updates that you should know if you have a website or blog, especially if you're monetizing. AdSense says they are optimizing empty in-page ad spaces. And what that means is that if you have an ad slot on your website, on your blog page, and there's no ad to fill it, they want to be able to let you monetize that. So right now, it's just nothing there. But they're experimenting with what they can do to put something there that means that you could earn something. So what they're talking about specifically right now is in that space, there's no ad to put in that space. So instead, they put in related topics related to the web page that you're on. If someone clicks one of the related topics, it does a search. There's a display ad at the top. And then if people click the display ad, you earn from that. So you don't earn from people clicking the topic. You earn from people clicking the topic, then clicking an ad. This is very much like, text links, which AdSense has had as an ad format. And again, a lot of people may not necessarily want this. They want full control. So if you go into your AdSense account settings, and on the left menu, you pick brand safety, then content. And on the blocking controls page, you select manage ad serving. There is a display ads section, and you can disable fill empty in-page ads. So that's a lot of steps. It should be clear if you're actually in your AdSense account. And if you turn that off, then you won't get these experimental features, because my understanding reading this is that there's this one format now with related topics links, but in the future, AdSense might try something else. They may be experimenting with different things. So I want to say hello to everyone who's here live specifically. Andrew, Craig, and Jolyn are in the chat. If you're watching and you're not in the chat, please say hello. That may put you on the leaderboard. And, you get a badge for this chat if you are one of the top 3. Then another update that people with websites and blogs should know about is an update to Google Search Console. There's a new Insights report. If you've been using Search Console, you'll know that they had a sort of Insights page. It was kind of like highlights of your site. It's kind of good. But what they're doing now is having a report that is available from the main Search Console menu. You go to the Insights tab, and it will show you your top content, impressions, clicks, and you can see what's trending up and trending down. I should mention, like many of the updates I talked about this week, they're announced. It may take a couple weeks for some of these to roll out, so you may not see them in your account right now, but you'll see them soon. So this gives you a really quick overview of how your content is doing in Google search. And it also will give you an overview at the top queries leading to your site and some other details. All of these are at the site level. So even though the old insights are being retired, basically, in favor of this new report, the popular achievements feature is going to be ongoing. That basically gave you congratulations card when you hit a milestone like reaching a new threshold of total clicks in Google search for the past 28 days. Of course, people like celebrating. So they're still going to send out those emails, and you can click the links in the emails to the celebrations. And eventually they're going to put it on the sidebar in Search Console. So you can see all of that celebratory posts. It's a good thing, It makes you feel kind of good. You're looking at all the stats and you think, gosh, why aren't people clicking? And then you see you reached a new milestone. So maybe it's not as bad as you think. And it's always something to strive towards. So I think the other thing you need to know is that the Google Search June 2025 core update is rolling out. Google says most website owners won't notice a difference. I mean, they say that for every core update. This takes several weeks. I'm sure over the next several weeks, there'll be lots of people testing and seeing if there are changes. So keep looking at your site. And if you see a big change in traffic to your website from Google search happening now, it could be related to this. And then one of the things that people are worried about now is that Google's AI overviews are basically going to eat traffic to their site. So people do a search, they get the AI overview, it has a summary of all the information. It does link to the pages that are the sources, but I suspect for most people, they see the information and that's what they want, so they never click. Google ran an experiment called Recipe Quick View. It lets someone search for a recipe and then see a preview of the recipe. Excuse me a moment. So, so this recipe quick search let people search for recipes and then they would be able to see a preview of the recipe, and it was pretty detailed. It like had the entire recipe, including like tips for doing the recipe. Creators opted in to be part of this, and they got some kind of compensation, according to this Neiman Lab report. But what they found is that the compensation they got did not make up for the lost ad revenue from people not visiting their site anymore. And Google has decided to kill this feature. It's a good thing. It's a win for food bloggers. I think it's a win for most website owners that Google is doing these tests and saying, look, this actually really negatively impacts the people who are generating the content that the AI overviews are referring to. So we will see how things progress in the future. But this is going to be an ongoing issue. And it feels a lot like these AI companies are like, well, here, the AI will give you all this information, and they don't want to say that the sources of this information are valuable because then they might have to pay something. And along those lines, the last update is that Cloudflare has a pay per crawl beta. Now, Cloudflare is used as site protection. It can protect from denial of service attacks, from bots, that sort of thing. And now they say they can identify AI crawlers. And with this update, you can say, no, AI crawlers cannot access the content on my site. Cloudflare blocks them. And then you can optionally implement the option for them to pay. So the idea is that these AI companies have AI crawlers. They hit one of these sites, and if they want to Borg up all that information, they have to pay something. Will this work? I don't know. My sense is a lot of these AI companies really strongly don't want to pay for anything at all. So we'll see what happens. But like the CC Signal update from Creative Commons, it's good to see these sites that protect websites that license content are at least thinking about these issues, because right now there isn't any good way to do this at all for creators. And everyone, including Google, has just said, well, if it's on the internet, it's fair use. We're going to use it. I don't know what they're going to do when people stop posting things, but that's the deal. And I wanted to mention a kind of neat update. Created is a studio space in Franklin, Tennessee, that's inside a Walmart. So this is a big push from Walmart. They have state-of-the-art recording equipment, and they say it's good for podcasters, musicians, anyone who wants to record video or audio. They have workshops, they have events. They say it's good not just for creating, but for collaborating. And it looks fantastic, but I've seen some pushback because it's inside a Walmart, and people are saying, oh, that's kind of disappointing. And I'm wondering what you guys think. Is it a bad thing that this is inside a Walmart? I'm thinking no. If there aren't any other affordable studio options, I think it's good that there's an option. Of course, Walmart gets something out of this. It gets people coming into their store. Maybe they get sort of a coolness feeling from people if they go there all the time for podcasting or whatnot. But I think it's an interesting initiative. And I am not familiar with the area. I don't know if Franklin, Tennessee has other options or not. But I mean, in an ideal world, be able to go to your public library and rent a room there or something like that. But that's just not possible for most people. So those are the updates for this week. I just want to mention 10 years ago this week, there were, of course, interesting things happening, always. So 10 years ago this week, Facebook said they would begin sharing ad revenue with video creators, and media companies were pivoting to video. So they launched a mobile suggested videos feed and specifically pointed out this was full of professionally produced content, which was then interspersed with ads. And it was on mobile. Why? Because something like 75% of video views on Facebook 10 years ago were from mobile devices. So this is a shift to mobile, and this is an initiative partially to get more professional video content on Facebook. The revenue share sounded pretty good. Facebook kept 45%, the creators 55%. That sounds like the same revenue split that YouTube has, except that because this is a feed on mobile, the ads were sort of interspersed between the videos. And so any ad revenue was shared among multiple videos that were near that ad, which is a little bit different than ads placed inside a video at the beginning, end, or middle. So the initial lineup, videos from the NBA, from Hearst. Hearst is a huge media corporation. They own a lot of newspapers. Fox Sports, Funny or Die, Taster Made. There were a few dozen various media companies that were part of this. So this was not for ordinary creators to monetize. This was really focused on professional content. And at the time, the Wall Street Journal noted, if successful, this effort will make Facebook a more serious threat to Google's YouTube online video. So what happened? A few months later, in October, Facebook said they were pleased with the initial results, which show that people who have suggested videos are just discovering and watching new videos. The way this worked is that people would be watching video in their news feed, then they would be able to click a button to see suggested videos and presumably scroll through these suggested videos and see ads. Also, at that time, they added a new videos tab in the mobile app for more video discovery. So Facebook was all in on video. They also launched a bunch of new video features, autoplay of videos in the news feed, the ability to embed videos, a floating video player, 360 video, this dedicated videos feed, and so forth. And so at the time, media companies in particular were going all in on video, and they started laying off their regular journalists and writers. This was the notorious time of the pivot to video. So why was it notorious? Because it turned out the metrics that Facebook was giving creators, media companies, and advertisers were grossly inflated. So they acknowledged at first that they were slightly off. Then it turned out a few years later, they were way, way off, overestimating how many views and how much engagement these videos were getting. And of course, this pretty much hurt everyone in the ecosystem except Facebook. Surprise, surprise. So since then, of course, there was a lot of lack of trust in the metrics from Facebook, and I think this spilled over to other platforms as well. And interestingly, last year in 2024, Meta shifted from ad revenue sharing to a performance-based payment model based on views, and they say that their metrics are more accurate now. It's not clear to me if this is good for creators or not. And of course, since 2015, the types of video that are popular have shifted. It's not just people watching on mobile. Since then, there was a launch of TikTok. So you have short videos in a feed that really pushed YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels. But Facebook is not really the first place I think of to go and watch video. But they're working on it. They're still trying. Just last month, Facebook said that now all videos are Reels. So you now have a Reels feed on Facebook instead of a videos feed. I don't know. It feels like they're still trying to figure it out. And going back to what the Wall Street Journal suggested, they have definitely not conquered YouTube. Yeah, so 10 years from now, I'm sure they'll still be trying various things. Will they ever figure it out? I'm not sure. So going back to the Walmart Creator Studio, Andrew says, I think this is great. Nashville has a couple of sites that do that, but they aren't well publicized. I imagine Nashville is one of the big centers of music, of course. I kind of imagine there are tons of studios, but they may all be at a level above what a lot of starting creators can afford or even access. And I think that that's what this really kind of addresses. There is this middle ground between recording videos in your bedroom or in your car and going full on, having your own studio. What do people who are in the middle do? And having places where you can go and record with high quality equipment in a quiet environment, I think that's a big deal. And he also says, I believe massively delusional was used by one journalist. Yeah. So it was a terrible time, this pivot to video time. Media companies went crazy and wiped out their newsrooms. Then the metrics turned out to be fake. Oh, well, now what do? They're dead. Hopefully they learned the lesson, but I'm not actually sure that's true. All right, so those are all the updates this week. I don't have another live stream with on eBoard, which is why I ran over a little bit. And I appreciate you all sticking with me. I love that you guys are on the top fans leaderboard. It looks like, just to follow up, that there is a maximum number of points. So you can't just rack up points continuously. It looks like the maximum number of points for comments is 75 points. Then you have to pay for things to get more points, which I'm not suggesting you do. Interesting times. We'll see how that works. Anyway, thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I will see you all next Sunday.